Welcome to Friendly Frequencies, a podcast that will revolutionize your journey to greatness. My name is Commune. I am traveling the world as an artist, tour guide, and life coach, documenting the powerful lessons that I learn about myself and what it takes to live a life of true happiness and freedom. Living outside the bounds of my comfort zone has brought me more joy and abundance than I ever could have imagined, and I aim to push you a bit further out of your comfort zone with each episode. Thank you for joining me on this journey of transcendent transformation. Hello, people. I am so excited to be here right now. Excited and nervous. I've actually been in my head about it today all day because this is it's kind of like my first episode back. I have recorded one episode that's now episode 1 because of the relaunch, but I have not created an episode continuing on from my last one. Technically, my last one would be episode 39, and it's been, since I recorded that one, it's been like 4 months or something. So it's been a big leap, a big jump since then, of course. I'm now in India. When I recorded that, I was in the Philippines. And I'm going to just continue where I left off, or continue from now, because a lot has happened since we left off, but I kind of gave an overview of some of that stuff in the first episode. So you can go to like episode number 1, gives you a bit more context to, why the podcast was deleted, what happened with me and what I learned from that, and what's going on in my life now. A lot of exciting things are going on right now, so I will let you listen to that whenever you want. But for now, I'm just going to continue on with my life. And starting now, you're going to hear a lot more from me. And I appreciate your patience as I get myself back into the podcasting world. It's good to be back. And for me, another thing that was, I guess, stressing me out a little bit about making this episode is I've been very unclear the last few weeks, and especially the last few days. I've done a lot of processing over what's happened with me over the last few weeks. I'm going to talk a bit about my experience of living at a commune, and that's the only way I can describe this place is as a commune. It's in India, and it was, not as much commune vibes in the sense of it's not what you expect. It's not what's on TV, unfortunately. I was kind of hoping it would be like this Wanderlust, if you've seen that movie, situation, where there's nudists and people are doing psychedelics and everyone's having sex with each other and all of this, fun stuff. I've always wanted to live on a commune. Not just because of, those things sound great, but like, I just think that, it just sounds like such an amazing place to be in community. That's what commune's all about, right? It's a community of people. And that's what this place is, except for it's low season here in India, so really bad weather, and so really no people were there, except for 2, the guy who leads the whole place, and then one other woman that was there. So my friend Jay and I went there, and so he and I had been in India for the last month, and we went there as kind of volunteers. And what has happened for us is kind of insurmountable. Like, I can't believe everything that's happened and everything I've learned from being there. So I guess a part of me has been thinking, what am I even going to say? How can I even put into words what has happened for me and what I'm processing right now, because I'm still processing it. So I'm not going to go into all of the details of everything because it's too much. And it's also, I just want to talk about what's really relevant to you, right? So yeah, you might want to hear all the juicy details of what's of what actually happened. And I'll give some, but not everything, just because I really want to just take it as this is what I learned. It's kind of like, I'm going to kind of go about this the way I went about my journey through next level leadership training. So that was episode 22. If you ever want to listen to that, that was in that episode. Oh, also my journey through the Women's Weekend. I don't remember which episode that is, but the Women's Weekend, and the next level training, both very, very intense personal development seminar work, sort of, kind of like that. And I can't really talk about the details in those because I don't want to take away from the experience of anybody else that will do it, hopefully. And it's confidential what happens in those spaces. But what I can talk about is what I got from it. So I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. Not because I'm not allowed to talk about this stuff. It's like, it's just because I want to just talk about, okay, what's the learning here? How can I further process this without being so much in the story? I know the story is fun and exciting. Okay, for me, it was anything but fun. It was fucked up and hard and like really, really probably one of the hardest experiences of my life. And as much as I would love to tell you all the excruciating details of all of it, just because I do love to be an open book about everything, I also just don't want this to be about the story, because the story just creates a whole picture in your head, and in my head it keeps me in some sort of story that is going to have my mind spiraling into some sort of doubts and monkey brain and all of that. So that's just my precursor to this, is I'm not going to give you all the details of what happened, but I will tell you what I learned, and I'm going to give you a lot of juicy questions to ask yourself if you want to kind of ponder with me and, get to know yourself better. And maybe even if you're anything like me, you're going to maybe think about life differently and think that maybe you don't know yourself as well as you thought you did, because that's how I'm feeling. I don't think I know myself the way that I thought I did. So at one point I was questioning my entire life. And also a precursor, no psychedelics were done here, unfortunately. But yeah, in all seriousness, it was completely sober events, all of it. Even though I feel like I just went on some sort of psychological warfare journey. So I'll just get into it. So first off, my intention for this episode, because if you remember from old episodes or whatever, my previous episodes, I started doing an intention before, just so I can really stay on track with making this about you. This isn't about me, really. Yeah, it's going to help me process, and I'm happy I get to do this, to process my own life as it's happening, but it's really, I want to bring value to your life. So I'm always setting an intention to stay focused on how can I help you with this, rather than me just talking about myself all the time with no purpose. So my intention with the episode today is to take my intense experience and share it in a lighthearted way where we can all just have a ponder together and learn about ourselves. That's all this is. And when I say it like that, and I was kind of doing a lot of journaling about this before, and the words, we can have a ponder together, came out. And I thought, that's such a nice way of putting this, because I've been putting so much pressure on talking about this on myself, about what am I going to say, and what if I say the wrong thing, and blah, blah, blah. What are people going to think? But really, all this is I'm just sharing you my experience, and we're gonna have a ponder together. It just sounds so cute to say it like that, like super cute and Canadian, like, oh, we're just gonna have a ponder. Anyways, so okay, I'm going to actually lead with a poem that I wrote, and the reason I'm going to do that is kind of to get your curiosity going, and literally because it's all questions. This is a poem of all questions. Some of the questions, actually all of these, are questions that I've been asked while I've been here, while I was living there at the Commune. And they're just constantly and these are only a fraction of the questions I have been asked, keep in mind. But these are the ones that kind of stuck with me and that I've continued to ponder ever since. So this poem is called The Truth. By the way, yeah, I started writing poetry lately. I've only written like maybe 4 poems or something, but I'm actually I quite like it. So yes, this is called The Truth. Who am I? A mind, a body, a soul, a consciousness? Am I free? Free from what? Free from control? What is it that I don't see? What is the lie I keep telling myself? What am I running from? Do I trust people? Do I trust myself? What is this truth I keep hearing about? Do I know myself as well as I thought I did? Am I in integrity? Am I living in alignment with my values? Or are there contradictions? The red pill or the blue pill? What is this matrix I see? Am I pretending to be? Let's see. So that's my poem called The Truth. So I start with this to kind of give you an idea of the kind of questions that we were pondering this entire time. And I say pondering, but really it was more like I had a light shined into my face by a investigator, and I'm the lead murder suspect, and everybody is psychoanalyzing me, and I'm just the worst person in the world, and I'm there. I felt like under attack. Now, this is all just my experience, because that's not what was really happening. I mean, it felt that way because it feels like you're being attacked when somebody is questioning your beliefs. It feels like someone's trying to disagree with you, and kind of physiologically as a human you get defensive. Your ego is like, oh, this person doesn't agree with me, that's not safe, they don't accept me. All the stories, all of that starts to run in your mind. So for me, that's how it was. It was like that from day one, you guys. I arrived there, and we have like hours long conversation about philosophical things. Like, they didn't even ask us anything about our personal lives, what we did for work or anything. Literally, it was like, boom, right away we're going into it. Like, I felt immediately like I was being psychoanalyzed, but I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the conversation about, oh gosh, all of this philosophical stuff, like about what is life and who are we and what am I. And immediately I was being challenged, my beliefs, and it was fun. It was out right away. I was like, yeah, okay, this is my kind of environment, like bring it on. And right away I started getting feedback and started I just even was being warned, like, by this guy who runs the place. I'm just going to call him the leader because I don't really want to say names and things and whatever. So the leader, he's saying, there's going to be times where you want to run away. You're probably, there's going to be really, really hard times here. And just kind of warning me. And I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, bring it on. Like, I was fully in, like, hell yeah, I'm all about the personal growth. But damn, I did not expect for myself to run away. And actually, I did. Like, I've never run away from any of these courses I've done, but this one was like very comparable to the next level leadership training, in which many people run away from. Literally, they drop out of the course before it ends because they can't handle this many mirrors being put up against them, and they cannot handle the trauma they're processing. They cannot handle the feedback they receive, like their egos get involved, all of this stuff. So for me, I actually did run away from this place at one point, and I'll kind of get into that, I think, but first I'll just start to explain a bit of my experience. So that's kind of setting the tone for you. This is kind of the way that the place works. But there's only 4 of us there, Jay and I and the 2 people. So it was very, very intimate. We became like, it right away became like we're kind of this family, and the both of them are older that live there, and like, so it felt like kind of like they're like our mom and dad in a way, just like with the age and everything. But but it felt like, yeah, he's kind of wanting to mentor us and train us, but we were very clear that this is a space for personal growth and very intense growth of seeking the truth of life. And for me, I still don't actually know what that truth is, to be honest. The leader is a very interesting person and seems to see something that I don't, or that most people don't. It's kind of like this matrix type situation. And I don't fully understand, but I think I'm starting to really piece together different parts of this puzzle that now that I'm away from the space, I can really understand a lot of what he was talking about. But because in that moment, it was like this very intense situation that I just could not understand. And I felt like because of all of my stuff coming up too was kind of getting in the way of that. And I also never knew like completely if I could trust this person. And, just the intensity level of it had me pull away at times and have my ego involved at times. It had my safety feel like am I even safe here at times? And so now that I'm out of that situation, I can look at what I've learned from this man and I can say, okay, there's a lot of truth here and there's a lot of knowledge and wisdom that I can finally start to understand, and I'm not in an environment that is having me question all of these things so often. So he calls himself awakened, and I can only go like so far into this discussion because it's still very confusing for me. But for me, I would have probably considered myself, if I ever thought of this term awakened, I didn't really use it in my everyday life, but he does. And for me, when I would think about awakened, I would think of, I think I'm awake, or at least I don't think I'm at this level. I always thought about it like a spectrum, like, okay, I'm definitely on the path of awakening all the time. That's actually how I would see myself. But he sees it like you're awake or you're asleep. That's it. You're this or you're that. And I could not really get on board with it because I thought, well, what an ego it would take for me to say I'm awake and I have the answer to life or something like that. But to say that I'm asleep, I definitely don't feel like that. If anything, I feel closer to being awake than I do asleep. And you can just kind of conceptualize into your own mind about what that even means, awake and asleep, because for me, I never got a real answer from him. It's something I have to find out for myself because he can't just tell me. It's like The Matrix. We actually watched The Matrix together. I just saw it for the first time. And it's like that. It's not something that someone can ever explain to you. It's something you have to experience yourself. So that's how he explained it to me. So, of course, I was intrigued. And I barely knew this man, and I just thought, okay, well, tell me more. I'm a sponge right now. I just want to listen and hear what you have to say about life. Like, if this is the way you're seeing life, I want to know more for sure. So, but it was more like, okay, he's going to teach me how I can find it for myself because he can't really tell me what it is. So, anyways, I was kind of going along with this training process, which got to be too much for me. And that's saying something because for me, I feel like I thought I could handle it all, especially, all the personal development, uncomfortableness in life. I'm always like, get uncomfortable, all of this stuff. And I still stand by all of that. I think it's not that I'm afraid to get uncomfortable. It wasn't really that. It was more of it was like an uncomfortability that I just wasn't prepared for. It was kind of like I just couldn't fully trust this person. I couldn't fully trust the whole situation. And it was a bunch of stories were coming up. I have still no idea what's true or what's not true. I believe they're good people, and I believe they were trying to help, and that he was trying to help me and mentor me. But I could not fully trust, and I had to fully trust him with my life. Like, the level of sacrifice I actually had to give in order to be mentored by this person is like I had to give my entire mind and psyche to this person and basically do whatever he tells me to do. And I was about to do it. because I'm on this path of self-discovery and self-actualization and all of this stuff, right, that I'm obsessed with. And I was like, okay, I'm all in. And then traumas came up for me. Things surfaced, and he triggered a lot of things for me. I was triggered, right? Like, it's my own stuff. It's not about him, really. This is about me. So it's not like, oh, he triggered me. It was like that. It was like I was triggered by what he was doing and the way he was being, you know. It's because I take responsibility for everything. All of what has happened, I take full responsibility. Even for my trauma. Something I also learned from him is that I need to take full responsibility for my trauma. It doesn't mean what happened to me is my fault, because there's no blame in this. Nobody should be blamed when talking about trauma or when talking about anything like this. But I can still take full responsibility for what's happened to me, because I take responsibility for everything in my life because it happened to me. If I wait for other people to take responsibility, even if I had no control over the situation, well, then where does that leave it? It means that I'm never going to be fulfilled, or I'm never going to be okay with what happened. I'm never going to be able to move on if I don't take responsibility for that. So, yeah, I learned that from him. And I wouldn't have even learned that if I didn't have those traumas surface in the first place. So this is pretty huge. This is something that I took because I didn't think I had trauma. And it's not like I didn't remember what happened to me. You know, I've experienced sexual abuse before, really young, like 4 years old. And it's always something I remembered, but it never bothered me. It was just like a memory, no problem. And also, you know, like an abusive relationship, some trauma came up around that too, that I've experienced in my life. And both of these came up because of this man that I was living with, this leader. And he triggered both of them for me to a state that I've never been in before. I've never had my traumas come up for me like that ever. And they've never really, at least on a surface level, impacted my life. Although I'm pretty sure I can see patterns of how this trauma has shown up in my life subconsciously. For example, and this is probably the only example that I have, but it's the most powerful, my issues around sex. Like I've dealt with problems in my sex life and within myself, and my like all of this, and this is a whole nother episode. I know I've been talking about it for a while, that I'm gonna come out with it, and I really am. I promise you, next episode I will do this. I'm committing to it, so I won't get too far into that. But yeah, but I can see how my past traumas have shown up in my sex life and has caused me so many problems that I think we're all psychological and all subconscious effects of this trauma that I experienced. At least that's what I think, and I feel like I understand it more after being there. So what I found out closer to the end of my stay there was actually that he being the leader, purposely triggers people's traumas. Like, it's kind of what he does. And he, not even, sometimes it's not intentional, because he doesn't know, although he is or claims to be a bit psychic, and I actually experienced it. I think that I definitely believe it because I could see it at times. But he doesn't know. He didn't know what my trauma was until I said it. But he did know that there was some trauma there, and I mean, of course, everybody's got it. But anyways, so it's not like he knows somebody's exact trauma beforehand and then plays out this role so that he can trigger it. It's not really conscious that way, but whatever the dynamic is that happens, it kind of sparks up a trauma, or he'll say something, or he'll be and act in a way. He's just being himself, but it triggers people. And so I saw it with myself, I saw it with Jay. Like, it's something that clearly happens with a lot of people, because a lot of volunteers don't actually make it out of there. Okay, that sounds really scary. No, I mean, like, people end up leaving earlier than they say they will. He said that a lot of people just leave. And I didn't want to be one of those people, but I could understand why people were leaving, because it was really intense work and too intense for people to stay. I can see that. And as much as I'm all about sticking it out and staying in an uncomfortable place if it means that you're going to be growing and actually breaking through these, having these breakthroughs, breaking through these barriers that are holding you back from your most successful, most abundant life, for sure. But for me, I just couldn't fully trust that was the right place for me to do that. And then I was offered a mural job around this time of craziness happening over there, and us just really wanting to get out of there. And then, we were offered a mural job in the town of where we were staying at this really cute cafe, and that we loved spending time at. And so we said yes. And it came with its issues, of course, and bringing up that we were leaving early. And that brought up a lot of uncomfortable situations there, let's say. And we were aware that, yes, we made a commitment to stay longer, but we decided we needed to leave. We needed to do what was best for us, or what we felt was best for us. And for me, I felt like that mural job came as kind of a saving grace, and obviously, the leader thought of it differently, that this is just a kind of distraction to see if we are going to actually take it or not. But for me, regardless, I thought, even if this is the wrong decision to leave and maybe I should stay or whatever, I'm going because India has been absolutely a shit show. And not just at this place, but it was a shit show the whole time. Raining the entire trip. We got totally scammed at one point, and just it's not easy traveling here. But mostly it's the weather. So all of our trip got changed, and we didn't really get to do anything. We were just been working the entire time because there was nothing to do in the weather. So we were like, okay, let's have 1 week of just enjoying what we're doing. So we left. I'm going to quickly interrupt the episode to talk to you about the new company I'm working for called Digital Nomad Adventures. This is a startup company in Thailand, and we will be opening up in other parts of the world. And it is for people who want to be digital nomads, entrepreneurs, or just anybody looking to develop your mindset. Each day we focus on a different area of personal development, such as manifestation, goal setting, vision, getting out of your comfort zone, and it's 8 days of masterminding, of networking with people who are like-minded, who want to travel the world and be your own boss and live financially free anywhere in the world that you want, all while being personally life coached by me on the tour and enjoying all of the fun activities that go along with doing a guided tour in Thailand. We even invite you to come stay in Koh Phangan after and join our community of digital nomads there. So that's where I will be living. So if you're interested and you want to sign up for one of our tours, you can use the code FRIENDLYFR for a discount off of your tour, and you can find this at digitalnomadadventures.com. So I will talk to you about my takeaways from this experience. Number 1, I am not my thoughts. So this is a huge thing that I learned through all of the questions, through all of the conversations. A big one. I am not my thoughts. And I never realized how much I was thinking before. And just to preempt you for this, for my takeaways here, I just want you to be aware of what I'm saying, in a sense of think about it from your own perspective, because this isn't about me. Remember, this is about you. So when I'm telling you about what I learned, think about it like, how can you learn from this? There's something for you here, hopefully. So just think about it like that. And so I am not my thoughts. I didn't realize how much I was thinking before. I was thinking all the time, and it's normal. I'm also aware that when I'm thinking about the future, I'm not in the present. When I'm thinking about the past, I'm not in the present. It's definitely something that I've always been kind of aware of and thinking and talking about. But I don't know, I guess I didn't realize how much I was thinking and analyzing, and I did not realize I was such an analyzer. I even did this test. It was actually during one of the trainings that I've done. I did a test around, I don't remember the name of it, but you're either one of 4 things, mostly a controller, analyzer, promoter, or one of the other ones. For me, I was 0% analyzer, and you can kind of understand what analyzer is just by the word, right? You analyze things, you think about things a lot, you need data, you need proof, this kind of stuff. I am not like that at all, at all. So I was so surprised when I heard this feedback from them, actually by all 3 of them, including Jay, my friend who knows me much better than the 2 of them did. All of them told me actually on the first day that I'm over-analyzing a lot, and I'm speaking a lot of words to answer a simple question. Or not a simple question at all, actually, a very complex question, but it could be just a yes or no answer. Still takes a lot of thinking to come to that. For instance, a question like, one of them that I can think of off the top of my head is, are you free? He asked me, are you free? And I answer like, oh, I don't know, it depends what you're, is it free from what? Like, yeah, in some contexts, I would say I'm free, but I'm not completely free because I have this and that and blah, 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 blah. But the question was just, are you free, yes or no? So he asked me a lot of questions like that that he was just wanting a yes or no answer, but I was going all over the block trying to, just giving stories and trying to explain myself, because there's no way for me to say yes or no. I needed to explain why I'm right in the middle. So anyways, I didn't realize how much of a thinker, overthinker, analyzer that I am. It still shocks me, because I just thought I was the opposite of that. So that was one. But yeah, I am not my thoughts. So something that I've been doing now, and I've been really aware of my thoughts now, all the time. I'm just noticing what I'm thinking about, and I'll be questioning it, and even my actions as well. I'll do something, or I'll say something, and then I'll think about it, like, why did I do that, and why did I say that? That doesn't seem like it's in alignment with what I'm really thinking. So I felt like am I in integrity right now? I learned the definition of integrity is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all in alignment. And I'm thinking, oh, maybe that's not in alignment. Maybe I'm not in integrity right now. So I'm just very hyper self-aware, which is great. It's just to a whole new level. So I know I'm kind of going all over the place, but I am not my thoughts. I'm still kind of on that one. What I'm doing now is noticing my thoughts a lot more, and I'm now labeling them as past or future. So this is a kind of a meditation technique that I just started doing, and it just came to me. Surely I'm not the first person to think about this or invent this idea. It seems like a pretty common thing that I am assuming other people do, but it just came to me. I'd never heard about it anywhere else, of labeling my thoughts as past or future. So especially when I'm meditating, I'm just noticing the thoughts pass by. And I meditate every day, so at this point it is easier for me to just drop in, and still I have thoughts, but I'm just allowing them to pass, and I notice them. And before, I used to notice them and they would just I would say, okay, let's go back to the breathing and just kind of focusing on one thing, because I emphasize that you don't need to, and you should not shut down your thoughts. That's not the point. Just to notice your thoughts and then just focus again on whatever it is that you're focusing on. For me, this time now, I just started labeling my thoughts as neutrally, labeling past, future. And what that does, I've noticed, is it just fizzles the thought away. I don't have to try and go back to focusing on something else. I don't have to try and end the thought or put it away. It automatically goes away as soon as I label it as the past or future. It's really interesting. So it helps me because now I'm noticing how often I'm thinking about the past and the future. It's kind of like I can put it into these two file cabinets and I can notice, okay, I'm thinking about the past a lot. What's going on? What keeps surfacing, and is there something that's not resolved that I need to deal with? Or if I'm noticing I'm thinking about the future a lot, is it because I'm excited, or is it because I'm nervous or anxious, or what is it that I'm actually, I can kind of look back and think about what is going on in my mind all this time. And for me, I actually think that that's what being awake is. Not actually this experience of labeling thoughts and all of this, but my understanding, just from me analyzing it myself, I feel like being awake is not being not being controlled by your thoughts. I think of it as I am in my body and I am not my thoughts. My thoughts are separate from the person that I am. And I'm in control of my body, and I'm very aware and autonomous and intentional about the way that I'm moving my body in this world and the way that I'm being and who I'm being. And I'm able to just be that without thinking about being that. I can just wake up in the morning and grab my water instead of waking up and saying to myself in my head, oh, I don't want to get up right now, oh, I'm so thirsty, I'm going to grab this water. Maybe I'm not always narrating my life like that, but I am often, and I think a lot of people do. So when you realize that you don't actually have to speak so much in your mind, it doesn't have to be going off all the time. It's beneficial for you to learn how to quiet the mind. So I'm just learning it in a whole nother way, because of course I've been into this meditation journey for a while now, but I'm learning about it in a very different context. And for me, I feel like this is what awakening it is. So another takeaway that I got is that I don't know myself as well as I thought. I thought I knew myself really well, but I'm now questioning a lot of things. So the poem that I read you, and I recommend that you re-listen to that and even write down some of the questions, because I want you to ask yourself those questions. These are the questions I've been asking myself a lot, because they're all questions that I was asked, and I don't have an answer to any of them, honestly. And another piece of feedback I received from them was that I have all the answers, or that I think I have all the answers. So they would ask me a question about myself, like one of these very deep philosophical questions, and like, do I trust people? Do I trust myself? And, am I free? Things like this. They would ask me these questions, and I would answer them right away. I would not even think that much. I would think about it, but it was like I thought I knew myself so well that I just had the answer right away. And so I wouldn't really take a lot of time to think, and I just felt like, yeah, I know I have the answer. And they pointed this out in me, that I seem to know the answers right away, and but really in reality I didn't have the answers. And the more I was questioned and challenged throughout the time there, my thinking got longer between these questions, and I would think about it more. At some points I was just thinking about an answer, and I could not come up with one. And at some point I'm just like, actually, I don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to any of this. And I feel like that was more the right answer. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer, but I think that just realizing that I don't know the answer and that I don't know myself as well as I thought, that shows that I've learned something. It's like I learned that I don't actually know, which makes me feel like I actually know more. Like they say that knowledge means knowing more of what you don't know, or it means you are learning more that you actually don't know and you don't have the answers. So something else that I took away from this experience is that I realized I am more analytical than I thought. So along this line of feedback, so one of them is I'm very analytical apparently, which is shocking to me to find that out. And I never saw myself like that. But something that I am now doing is noticing how I'm analyzing things. And I realize, I actually have been analyzing everything my whole life, but I didn't really see it that way because I don't live my life the way most analyzers live. I'm usually very spontaneous and kind of just following my intuition and not worrying about anything that could happen that's bad, and I don't need any plan and like any of that, right? But I'm actually analyzing a lot, just in a different way in my mind. And that's okay. It's not a bad thing, but it just, for me to not have been aware of that means that it was in a way controlling me. So now I'm aware of it, and I can see when I am analyzing something, and I can choose now. Before I wasn't really choosing, I was just doing it. And now I can be more intentional and thoughtful around how I'm analyzing things and when I'm analyzing something. And is it necessary? Always, probably not. So I'm being in my body. I'm really learning to get out of my head and into my body, and more intentionally doing that. So I'm really grateful for that piece of feedback. Other feedback I received, other than analytical in my head, was not trusting in my masculine, living a lie, not free, and controlled. So yeah, I also heard that I was kind of like outgoing in a way of kind of being all over the place in a way, or just being hard to connect with one of them, which I thought really interesting. Like, and that was around like the masculine feminine. He said at one point, I feel like you're dropping into your feminine right now. Before you were very in your masculine, and to, now I feel like I can approach you, and now I can be myself and my masculine around you because now you relaxed and dropped into your feminine. So that's some more feedback that I received. And finally, the last thing that I took from this experience is that I actually do have trauma. This is huge, actually, because through all of the personal development work and seminars I've done, I've never felt like I had trauma to work on. Now, I had experiences that you would consider traumatic, but it never affected me. I never felt like it impacted my life, at least on the surface level. I'm really learning that, no, it really has impacted my life, and it's just, it's not directly, you can't see it as, it's not like I'm having a trauma flashback of this experience and it's impacting my life. No, it's more subtle than that. Like trauma has, some traumas for me have impacted my sex life, my entire life, right? Part of it, I believe, is from these traumas. And for me, and my whole sexual awakening is stemming from that. It's like, okay, I've been on this kind of sexual awakening, and yes, I promise I will make you an episode about this next time. But one of the main reasons I have to have this awakening in the first place is, one, I probably would have had to do it anyways because of society and everything and what it does to women around sex, but like also these traumas have put have given me a lot of stuff that I took with me the rest of my life and impacted my my being that way in sexual relationships with myself, with other people. So can't wait to talk to you more about that. But for me, like, that was just really impactful, that I already kind of figured that had an impact on my life that way, but I never felt like, I've never had my traumas triggered before. So it made me realize, there really is unresolved stuff here that I need to look at. I've never had a trigger before. Like, I've never been triggered like that around both of these things both of these traumas. They just both got triggered within the 2 weeks that I was there. Within the first few days. It was crazy. So I'm grateful for that. Really grateful that he, the leader, he had, he was willing to look like such a bad guy in order to help me heal. That's how I see it, is he was willing to take these bullets and, put us in really uncomfortable situations that makes him look really bad, and that we would be accusing him, or not accusing, but we would be like, kind of, we were speaking our truth to him the whole time. And sometimes it was not pretty, like telling him what we were thinking about him. At one point, I was, I would always be telling him, like, I don't even trust you right now. You could be a cult leader. You're not safe to be around. All of these things, right, were coming up. And by the end of it, I realized, okay, I don't really know the full truth of what is really the truth. But for me, I believe I was safe that whole time. And it didn't always feel like it, but I got a lot from that, and I knew that I would. So at the end of the day, I'm just so grateful for that experience. So beyond grateful to have met these people who showed me a lot of love. And that's not always pretty. They showed me tough love, and they said things to me that most people would never even have the courage to say. And it doesn't mean that I need to take everything on. I can take what I want from that experience and what I think will help me grow and, and process. Like, that's what I'm processing, is like, okay, what am I going to take with me here? And a lot I'm taking with me. So a lot of what, everything I just talked about here. So far, that's what I'm taking. And as I continue to reflect and things are starting to align and I'm starting to understand even more, and, reading books and now watching, certain things that I'm like, that's explaining exactly what I wasn't understanding there. It's all aligning. So I'm just so beyond grateful for that experience and for these people who welcomed us into their home. So beyond grateful. And I don't feel like the same person since then. So thank you so much for listening to this. I'm so happy to be back in the groove. I'm going to be coming back to you every week, every Wednesday. I'll go back to my old schedule. It used to be like Wednesday Western time, and so around Wednesday Western time, Thursday if you're in Asia, and I'll be coming back to you every week. So thank you for being here. I love you so much, and I can't wait to talk to you again. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Friendly Frequencies podcast. I would absolutely love it if you could leave me a review on iTunes and also Spotify or wherever you're listening to the podcast through. And what I will do is, for anybody that leaves me a review and sends me a screenshot through Instagram, I will personally send you my 30+ hour playlist. This playlist is very special to me. It has been crafted by me for the last 3 years, and I've never met a person who does not love it. And this is just another way that we can be beautifully connected through creativity. So send me a picture of your review. My Instagram is Friendly Frequencies, and I cannot wait to share this music with you. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you for listening and for supporting me along this journey. I appreciate you. I love you, and have a good one. I'll see you next week.